Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including, is this the end of Dish? What is left for the future of Dish and its parent company, EchoStar? Now that they're selling a good chunk of the remaining spectrum over to SpaceX, this comes after they sell a good chunk of themselves over to AT&T. We'll tell you what's happening there and what that may mean for Sling TV and Dish TV. Also, mass layoffs are coming to PBS, and NPR warns they could be shutting down as many as 80 radio stations now that they're losing federal funding. And YouTube is dominating TV as Disney, Fox, NBC, and more loses viewership. YouTube is growing and separating itself as the most watched platform in 2025 for television, according to Nielsen. We'll tell you about these stories, a whole lot more. There's a lot to talk about today. We'll break it all down in a quick second. But if you want to learn more about any of these stories, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. If you like what we do here, you can always find every story we talk about there. You can leave us a comment what you think on this story. But don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so YouTube recommends our videos to more people. Real quick, hey, thanks to all the people who went and checked out my other second channel. I do product reviews and stuff, but I've started doing videos like this, but about non-cord cutting topics. We did a video about Walmart a few days ago and 5 new things they're changing right now. And then we just did a video today about how Amazon is taking on Walmart. They're trying to destroy Walmart by basically offering everything Walmart offers. We got a video about their newest product launch that's meant to take on Walmart, as the two companies fight a tooth and nail battle to be your preferred online store. Check out that video, guy over at the Guy Reviews over there. I'll put a link in the show notes and in the first pinned comment to our YouTube channel. I appreciate your support. With that said, let's dive into it. Dish is selling most of its remaining wireless spectrum to SpaceX. Now, Dish had bought Boost Mobile and bought a bunch of wireless spectrum to build a 5G network to take on AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, and is currently the 4th largest provider of wireless phone service through its Boost Mobile service they bought from T-Mobile when T-Mobile bought Sprint. Now, though, after spending a bunch of money, I don't even know how much, a lot of money, they have sold most of that. They struck a deal with AT&T last week to sell some of its spectrum to AT&T for $23 billion in cash. And now it's announced that SpaceX will be buying pretty much the majority of its remaining spectrum for $17 billion. This one, unlike the AT&T, is not pretty much a straight cash. This is $8.5 billion in cash and $8.5 billion in SpaceX stock with this, and some other things, totaling when it's all done and said $17 billion. Now, again, both of these need regulatory approval. They're not done yet, but a few things here with this. Dish had long said its future was as a wireless phone company. It had heavily pulled back from being a Sling TV, a streaming television company. Even tried to sell it to DirecTV for $1 if they would absorb the debt. That deal fell apart when the debt holders refused to sign off on it. Now they fired 500 of its employees that were building its 5G network, and they have the ability to keep running Boost off of AT&T and even use SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet for its phones. But this raises real questions. What is the future of Dish now? Are they going to go back and focus on TV? Are they going to try to sell it? There's been speculation that now that they could pay off their debt, they may try to sell TV, both Sling and DirecTV, or Dish to DirecTV again. We'll see how that plays out. Boost Mobile is just a reseller now. It doesn't run its own network anymore. They could keep running that, but it's been losing a lot of subscribers recently. And of course, they have the EchoStar business with HughesNet Internet and some other businesses. But there's a real rudderless feeling to Boost, and also with that, to its parent company EchoStar and Dish with that. I don't know what the future here is, but it's definitely kind of bleak. And we'll have to keep an eye on it. Where does Dish go from here? What are they going to do with all that money? Are they going to pay off their debt, pocket it all, and just run a smaller, leaner company? Are they going to get rid of their television? It's reportedly losing a lot of money and is in debt. I don't know if that's true, though. I've heard other people claim that Dish is making money. We'll see what happens. But For now, what we do know is both Dish and Sling TV are losing a lot of subscribers, and there's no end of that in sight. And I think this is the beginning of the end of Dish. I think Dish tries to unload TV again to focus on the few other remaining businesses like Boost Mobile and the other parts, just as a company is a fraction of the size that it once was. All right, next up, massive layoffs coming to PBS as federal funding is cut, and NPR warns up to 80 TV or radio stations, could shut down. About 15% of PBS's workforce is being cut with this. The cuts are effective, this comes as federal funding is being cut effective October 1st. Not a surprise here. It's kind of one of those things. When the federal funding cut was happening, a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter, it's such a small piece. And remember I said, for many bigger stations like in New York or Chicago or Dallas, you're right, they have so many big donors supporting them. But in many smaller markets, and this is what NPR kind of said about their smaller markets, is that money from the federal government is make it or break it for them. Every penny counts. These are not very profitable radio stations. We could see a big change, advertising, bigger pushes for donors and more. But PBS and NPR are having to figure out how to do it, and big cuts are coming, and I suspect that this is just the beginning of the cuts we're going to be seeing here from PBS and NPR. So keep an eye on that. Next up, YouTube is killing Fox, Disney, NBCUniversal, and Warner Brothers Discovery. As YouTube hits record highs, these companies have seen their viewership drop. Now, interestingly, these numbers come from Nielsen, and it shows that in 2025, pretty much every traditional television broadcaster have seen their share of viewership. Not subscriber numbers, not how many people have access to their content, but how many people actually watch it drop. And YouTube has seen its viewership continue to go this way. These are according to Nielsen's numbers, who are not just looking at what the view count on YouTube is, they're trying to use their own analytics to track that with this. And this comes as we recently heard reports that many sports fans are turning away from things like FS1 and ESPN studio shows and going over to YouTube. Why do I want to sit through an hour-long Sports Center cast where I get 5 minutes maybe on my team, when I can go on YouTube and get a 20-minute supercut of their game, or I can get specific highlights and deep analysis on my team without having to sit through a bunch of sports or other teams I don't care about? Hey, I may be an NFL fan and an NBA fan, but maybe I don't care about the NHL. Or maybe, hey, I'm an MLB and NHL fan, but I don't really care about the NFL. Why do I want to listen to that all day? Look for this to become more and more common. I do think YouTube is dominating. I agree with these Nielsen numbers. I know in my personal life, I find myself watching more and more YouTube. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Do you watch more YouTube now than you used to? And how much do you think that's impacting it? Now, both YouTube and Netflix are outperforming traditional broadcasters like Disney or like NBCUniversal, Warner Brothers Discovery, Fox, and more with that. Speaking of traditional television, Paramount's new owners are hoping to make MTV cool again. Now, this one's going to be interesting. In a time where like NBCUniversal and Warner Brothers Discovery are spinning off their cable networks and getting rid of them, Paramount has said that they hope to re-energize its cable networks under its new leadership. This comes as Skydance's chief executive David Ellison, I hope I said that right, apologize if I did not, is hoping to re-energize its cable networks, primarily mentioned as Comedy Central and MTV. They don't own Cartoon Network. I apologize. I was reading and talking. That doesn't often work well for me. Now, a few things here. I actually think that's a great idea. I think there's a lot of brand power still with MTV. I don't think it's on cable television. I actually think one of their biggest mistakes was shutting down MTV News. I would love to see MTV get back into the more documentaries on and news and more things that they could put on YouTube. They could put on other platforms. They could have dedicated channels on Pluto TV and other places. The ability to pull the tween, teen, and young 20s back to cable to watch MTV, I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, it could be they could completely revamp MTV from a network that's historically kind of focused on the young 20s and younger, and in recent years went heavy female, with a lot of their shows striking with teenage girls in particular, and with that. Two, maybe making MTV something that is a nostalgia for those 40, 50, and 60-year-olds who grew up or watched it heavily in their young 20s, teens, and more when it was kind of new and fresh. We see this with Cartoon Network. That's why I got a little distracted. I was reading this part. Cartoon Network has been leaning heavily into the nostalgia of older viewers. That's why you see things like Adult Swim running reruns of popular Cartoon Network shows from the 90s and early 2000s. They're not trying to bring back my daughter who's just turning 13 or my son in his much younger years. They're trying to bring back people like me who may be channel surfing and saying, oh man, Dexter's Laboratory, I used to watch this all the time when I was in high school, middle school, or wherever it may be. Will that be successful? I don't know. But that is something I think MTV could be successful on. But for now, MTV's hoping to become relevant again. I'll be very interested to see how Paramount makes that happen. Today in TV history, we got a couple of Star Trek things happening. 59 years ago, yesterday for when this goes live, Star Trek premiered on NBC, launching a cultural phenomenon. A show that struggled would quickly find footing in reruns with it and become successful. Its first spin-off show after it was canceled was Star Trek the Animated Series. That premiered 52 years ago, all the way back in 1973. Interestingly, they both premiered on September 8th in their respective years, as apparently they really liked that day and they wanted to continue it. Now this comes as we start the 60th anniversary of Star Trek, and Paramount has promised a year-long celebration of 60 years of Star Trek. Be interesting to see what happens. I'm hoping to get a Star Trek Legacy show, kind of continuing off the end of the final Picard season. I'll love that, but we'll see what happens. Also, you can now bundle ESPN Unlimited with NFL Plus. Now, remember, ESPN is buying the NFL Network, but big red flag here, that deal is not done yet, needs regulatory approval. It's been long speculated once that happens, NFL Red Zone and NFL Network will be bundled into ESPN's new streaming service called ESPN Unlimited. For now, though, you can have it as an add-on for $39 with this, I believe it is, $39.99. Yes, $39.99 for 12 months for the first 12 months. The bundle includes Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Unlimited, and NFL Plus for that price. Not a bad bundle with it. I do expect that once the sale ends, I don't know if it's going to be included in the base plan at the current price of ESPN Unlimited, or if they're going to try to have it as an add-on straight into the app. But I do expect NFL Network and NFL Red Zone to be added to the new Disney's ESPN Unlimited. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, next story up. There's a lot of AI news related to cord cutting in television, including Warner Brothers Discovery suing a company called Midjourney for generating countless copies of its characters. With this is an AI art generator that would copy copyrighted content from Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're suing to stop that. Now, Disney is also suing some of those AI-generated art systems for copying Disney red copied material. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out because it's becoming bigger and bigger issue with that. A lot of companies out there are going after these AI companies for either training on their content or creating replicas of Mickey Mouse or Batman or other copyrighted material. We'll watch how that plays out. Could be quite a landmark case here with it. Also, Anthropic, which is an AI one, will have to pay at least $1.5 billion, yes, that's billion with a B, folks, to authors for it knowingly training its AI on pirated content. Apparently, it downloaded pirated copies of books, fed it into its AI to train its AI with this. Not going to dive into the whole thing, but these lawsuits on AI art and content generation are becoming more and more common. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I think we're going to see more lawsuits around that. Also, a few other just random stories, kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff we find on my other channel here, the Guy Reviews channel. Check it out, link in the show notes. But Canada is pulling back on its mandate for automakers to hit EV sales data for electric-powered vehicles. Interestingly, across the board, doesn't have anything to do with Tesla. I know people try to tie us there. We've seen a lot of people pull back, and there's a growing on their interest in electric vehicles, and there's a growing trend, of electric vehicle owners trading in their electrics for gas-powered cars again. Just had a question for you. Have anybody here done that? My wife has a hybrid that gets her like 39 miles on electric and then it shifts over to gas. I wonder if we're going to see more of those kind of cars. I'll be honest though, it's really nice because most of her errands around town, picking up her kids from this or that, running around to the grocery store and the like, are within 39 miles round trip. She gets a really lot of miles out of her gas. But for the times where we go on a road trip beyond 39 miles, it's really nice to just flip over to gas and not have to stop and charge it with that. And lastly, a story I thought was interesting. Mark Zuckerberg sues Meta. Well, not that Mark Zuckerberg. A lawyer named Mark Zuckerberg is suing Facebook's parent company because they keep shutting down his Facebook profiles and other Meta-owned ones, saying that he is impersonating the billionaire founder of Meta when it just so happens they share the same name. I actually got a guy who shares the same name as I do that lives in a town right next door to us, and we both go to the same pharmacy. And we both, and more than once, they've grabbed the wrong prescription for me. And so we usually find out when Walgreens verifies the address. So it's a pretty common thing to have people share names. But apparently Facebook has put an auto block on anybody with that name. Now, for one, it's kind of understandable. I'm sure Facebook doesn't want a bunch of fake Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or other fake profiles, people impersonating them, though they still happen. But two, it does hurt people with that's legitimately the same name. It'll be interesting to see how this lawsuit plays out. I wonder a little bit if this is him just desperately trying to get a hold of Facebook tech support, which is notoriously difficult to do. But there you go. There's a few extra stories I thought were very interesting. Again, if you would like me diving into non-cord cutting stuff, if you like this format, you want some non-cord cutting stuff, check out the Guy Reviews channel. I'll be doing more videos, maybe not 5 days a week, but I'll be doing a lot more videos over there, deeper dives on specific things, and probably do a breakdown of like this where it's a bunch of smaller stories too here soon. But check it out, Guy Reviews, link in the first pinned comment down there and in the show notes. I'd love your support if you could help us grow that channel. We're almost at 35,000 subscribers. I'll be back with another video like this one real soon. Until then, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.